Hi, my name is Mallory and this is my team.
Camden,
Thomas,
and Erica.
We're really excited to share how T-Mobile can empower the next generation. I'll give a brief background of the case, and then my team will introduce our solution and implementation. Finally, I'll wrap it up with the overall impact for T-Mobile. As America's Un-carrier, T-Mobile has radically changed the wireless industry. They now have the opportunity to further extend their influence through innovative CSR initiatives. Today we'll analyze T-Mobile's current CSR strategy, and then we'll identify additional opportunities for impact using the win-win approach. Currently, T-Mobile uses their assets for societal benefit. We've identified 3. First, powerful technology in today's mobile world. Second, a distinctive, edgy brand that differentiates them from their competitors. And third, 50,000 employees voted #1 in customer service. T-Mobile uses these assets to empower youth. So why youth? Not only are they the heaviest users of T-Mobile's products and services, they will quickly become the next generation of T-Mobile's customers and employees. T-Mobile's current signature cause initiatives support youth through 3 programs: Mobile Empowerment, a Changemaker Challenge, and Career Readiness. So now, with an understanding of T-Mobile's assets and the mission of their current CSR strategy, let me introduce you to the win-win model. Social entrepreneur Jens Molbach coined the term win-win. It describes a strategy which repurposes existing assets in the public, private, and social sectors to simultaneously generate economic and social progress. By aligning assets and incentives, it allows each sector to provide a greater impact than they could alone. Our solution fully implements the win-win model across the 3 existing signature cause initiatives. By aligning assets and incentives, T-Mobile will benefit society and strengthen their company. T-Mobile can leverage its existing assets of technology, brand, and people with the assets of those in the public and social sectors. By utilizing a win-win approach, T-Mobile will maximize their impact in empowering the next generation.
First, let's take a look at how T-Mobile can use technology to empower the next generation. 40% of students currently do not have access to the internet at home. Since 70% of teachers assign homework that requires internet access, this creates a homework gap for students where unconnected students fall behind. T-Mobile is currently tackling this problem through its Mobility in Education program. T-Mobile provides affordable internet access to high schools throughout the country by providing free and discounted devices, eliminating contracts and overages, and filtering harmful content for students. While this solves the problem of providing internet access to students in school, what about those students who don't have access at home? Furthermore, how will these students acquire the skills necessary to use these digital devices to their best ability? We propose 2 solutions to this issue. First, T-Mobile should allow schools to check out hotspots and mobile devices to their students. This may raise issues of device usage and safety. Therefore, secondly, T-Mobile should partner with the social organization Everyone On. Everyone On is dedicated to eliminating the digital divide within the United States, and they provide literacy training so that people can best use the tools that they're given. This is where the win-win model comes into play. Each organization plays a key role in developing this CSR plan. T-Mobile provides 24/7 access to the internet through its fast 4G LTE network. Public schools provide school funding for network services, and Everyone On provides low-cost internet and digital literacy tools. Now, this program has the potential to reach the homes of 1 million youth nationwide. Assuming a modest conversion rate of just 3%, this could boost T-Mobile's revenues by up to $15.5 million. Furthermore, every high school student who has access to the internet has a 6 to 8% better chance of graduating high school. By placing these By placing these devices into their homes, T-Mobile will save the U.S. government an average of $200,000 per student in aid once they graduate, and $6.5 billion total. These three organizations will use the win-win model to reduce the homework gap for 1 million youth nationwide, and T-Mobile will empower the next generation that allows them to succeed, with technology that allows them to succeed.
Thank you, Thomas. Now let's talk about how T-Mobile can leverage their brand to empower the next generation. Youth face countless problems every day, such as discrimination, domestic violence, and bullying, and yet 75% of youth feel powerless to enact change. In order to tackle this problem, T-Mobile has created the Changemaker Challenge. Through partnering with Ashoka, a social nonprofit, T-Mobile plans to host each year the Changemaker Challenge, where teams come together and present and identify a problem that exists in their community, and then through a video, they present a solution. The winning teams then receive mentorship from both Ashoka and T-Mobile representatives and seed funding to implement their projects. While Ashoka is a great and influential nonprofit social sector partner, T-Mobile can fully scale the impact of this initiative by following the win-win model and incorporating a public sector partner as well. Assets from the public sector will allow the Changemaker Challenge to be even more impactful by aligning the government resources in order to enact change. Accordingly, we recommend that T-Mobile bridge this gap by pairing with Youth Engaged for Change, a government program backed by 19 federal agencies whose simple goal is to create changemakers in today's society. They will also participate in the Changemaker Challenge with Ashoka and T-Mobile by providing a mentor from one of their 19 government agencies that is related to the different problems these teams are addressing. The mentor then will allow these winning teams to have access to government resources and legislative power. The assets that each team bring to the table are: first, T-Mobile has an incredibly strong brand image and will be able to fund these projects. Ashoka has 20+ years of experience with Changemaker initiatives. And finally, Youth Engaged for Change has the expert insight and experiences from representatives from 19 different government organizations. By combining these efforts and assets, T-Mobile will be able to reach 40,000 youth and strengthen and reinforce their brand image as changemakers. Ashoka will fulfill their purpose by empowering 1,200 youth to create and drive solutions. And finally, Youth Engaged for Change will have access and face-to-face contact with the top 100 changemakers that will not only support these government initiatives, but share them. And the most important and greatest impact of all will be on the youth. They will give voices to thousands of youth looking to speak up against social issues and implement 25 youth-led projects nationwide. T-Mobile will empower the next generation to change communities for good.
Finally, let's talk about leveraging T-Mobile's people to empower the next generation. Currently, 5.6 million 16 to 24-year-olds aren't working or in school, primarily due to unaffordable higher education and lack of training and experience. To address this problem, T-Mobile has launched the Generation T Career Exploration Program, through which they partner with the Boys and Girls Clubs of America to provide 90-minute store tours, career workshops, sorry, is that right? One? Okay. Career workshops and summer retail internships to help increase youth job readiness. While we love the focus on helping youth develop real job skills, we also think there are significant additional opportunities for impact. Specifically, T-Mobile can much better harness the volunteering potential of its 50,000 employees. We also think you should link the vital importance of college education with career readiness, since college graduates are 3 times less likely to be unemployed than those with just a high school diploma. Accordingly, we propose 2 solutions. First of all, T-Mobile should incorporate a one-on-one youth mentoring program as part of the initiative. Employees who choose to volunteer as mentors can do so through the Boys and Girls Club's existing Mission to Mentor program. Youth who participate in the mentoring program will also participate in the store visits and career workshops that are already a part of the program. What?
No, it's been 10 minutes.
That's okay. Okay, where was I? Okay, the second solution. Second of all, T-Mobile should partner with the Office for Federal Student Aid, a government organization whose goal is to provide financial aid to help send students to college through the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA. In 2014, $2.7 billion of aid went unclaimed because only 45% of high school seniors completed their FAFSA, primarily due to a time-consuming and confusing application. T-Mobile can directly reduce this gap by using its employee mentors to help high school seniors complete their FAFSA application and determine their eligibility. This innovative solution will leverage assets across the public, private, and social sectors. T-Mobile will use its 50,000 employees, given access to over 4 million youth through the Boys and Girls Clubs, and help high school seniors to access to $150 billion in total federal aid. T-Mobile will benefit through improved employee engagement. Employees who participate in corporate community efforts are 60% more likely to be satisfied, and we estimate that T-Mobile will see a $36 million increase in total value through reduced turnover. As for the Boys and Girls Club, they stand to receive $3.6 million in annual grants from T-Mobile, since T-Mobile has pledged through the Double the Donation program to donate $10 for every hour an employee volunteers at any nonprofit organization. FAFSA's participation will help them meet their organizational goal of sending students to college, since students who receive free help filling out their FAFSA are 24% more likely to attend college than those who do not. But the greatest impact of all will be on the youth. T-Mobile will reach 15,000 youth through its mentorship program, resulting in an additional $14 million of financial aid. And since college graduates see a $1 million increase in lifetime earnings, that means $7.5 billion in total added lifetime earnings. T-Mobile will empower the next generation through college and career preparation. Now that we've discussed our solution, let's move on to how we're going to implement it. The first key piece of implementation is developing an online platform to publicize and support these initiatives. Currently, T-Mobile's community engagement efforts are relegated to a short, obscure page of their website with almost no apparent focus on impact. We suggest that T-Mobile build a new website that helps showcase its social impact and that brings together all the stakeholders, employees, youth, partner organizations, and their customers. The external-facing portion of this website will target customers so that T-Mobile can showcase the impact they're having by empowering the next generation. Here, on the career readiness page, customers can see the total number of volunteer hours spent mentoring to date, total grants awarded, and the number of FAFSA applications filed. Customers can involve themselves by clicking buttons to donate or mentor. And at the top, they can click links that will send them to each of the partner pages to learn more about these partner organizations. The internal-facing portion of the website will focus on employees and partner organizations so that they can coordinate their efforts. On this example employee portal, Dave can see and edit his mentor profile, learn about the students he mentors, track his progress across key impact metrics, and log his hours and donations. Since implementing these changes will take some time, we suggest a phased rollout of each initiative over the next 12 months.
Thank you, Camden. So with every strategy, there are inherent risks. First, T-Mobile's current CSR strategy is complex, but rather than implementing all 3 initiatives at once, a phased rollout will allow T-Mobile to effectively execute each initiative. Additionally, implementing our online platform will allow T-Mobile to better coordinate efforts between sectors and stakeholders. Second, the costs are steep initially in implementing these initiatives, but these are minimal compared to the costs of not acting. Each of T-Mobile's current competitors already have in place robust CSR strategies. If T-Mobile wants to effectively compete, they must act now. Third, each of these initiatives will require support. T-Mobile should hire a manager over each initiative to manage partner relationships and measure impact. Now finally, what is the overall impact for T-Mobile? Their stated goals were to generate profitability, growth, and societal benefit. By implementing our recommendations, T-Mobile will generate $50 million in top-line growth. They will acquire an additional 25,000 customers, and most importantly, they will impact 1 million youth for good. By empowering the next generation, T-Mobile will become the Un-carrier that cares.
Thank you.
Okay, now our panel of great judges have 10 minutes to ask you questions. Judges, it's all yours.
Could you provide a little more detail on how you calculated a value number back to T-Mobile? What went into that calculation?
Yeah, so what we did right here,
This number right here?
I have
Or the $36 million of total amount? Great question. Let's move to the appendix here. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see this. It might be a little bit blurry. But here's the calculation for how we got to that $36 million. So we took 50,000 employees currently at T-Mobile and took the 30% industry average for employee engagement in community, any sort of community engagement effort. That's the current industry average. And then multiplied that by the estimated value per employee of $2,400. That number comes from a report by the Corporate Executive Board to the Leadership Council. Here you can see in the citation. Yeah.
that 2,400, is that the value back
It-
to the employee or the value?
It's to the company through reduced turnover and through increased engagement. Great question.
Of the three projects that you analyzed, which do you feel is the strongest and why, and which one do you feel is the weakest?
Great. I'll answer the first half of that question. So I think the strongest piece of our solution has to do with partnering with FAFSA and improving the career readiness initiative specifically. And the reason why we think this is the strongest recommendation is that the Office for Federal Student Aid is a clear public partner that would stand to benefit immensely by T-Mobile's participation. Helping students get access to those federal funds is a big problem, and FAFSA currently doesn't have enough people on the ground to help high school seniors file those applications. And so it also does a great job of linking college education with career readiness, which is currently lacking in T-Mobile's initiative. And we think that's just such a key important ingredient of career readiness and career success.
so, and I'll answer the second half of that question. Our weakest aspect is probably the first, the mobile empowerment. And that's not because the idea behind it is weak, but rather that initiative will likely require the most testing and troubleshooting to work out the actual nuts and bolts of how that's going to work. T-Mobile's already partnered with schools, but how exactly the process of renting out these hotspots is going to work, how many hotspots each school is going to need, how often students are going to be renting them out, that's going to require a little bit of testing and may take some time to make sure that it's utilizing its maximum impact.
Yes.
So in the program to go ahead and work with FAFSA and the Boys and Girls Club, could you tell a little bit more about that connection and how important is the Boys and Girls Club and what is the demographic of students who go to the Boys and Girls Club that would fit in with the FAFSA application?
Absolutely. Great question. So the way the Boys and Girls Club fits into that piece is they have an existing mentorship program called the Mission to Mentor program, which is great for T-Mobile because that means that in order to engage its employees as volunteers, they don't need to stand up a new system, right? And essentially, T-Mobile's employees will use the Mission to Mentor program to gain access to those 4 million youth that are high school seniors for the FAFSA piece that you're talking about. We're not saying that the mentorship program would only work with high school youth, with seniors in high school, but seniors in high school would be the only youth that need help filing their FAFSA. As to the specific demographics of those 4 million youth, I don't have exact figures on what percentage of those are high school seniors, but that's something we can certainly find out. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Can I add to that, though? I think it's really important why we chose the Boys and Girls Club, because that was who T-Mobile was already partnering with. T-Mobile worked specifically with the Boys and Girls Club to create their career readiness events in their shops. The Boys and Girls Club were really flexible in kind of helping them come up with a curriculum for those events. So we thought it'd be really powerful to keep building on that relationship rather than implementing another organization.
Absolutely.
Can you comment on what experience FAFSA has in working with the private sector, or any kind of partnerships or sponsorships already? And then what do you see as the biggest risk for T-Mobile in working with them?
Great. Currently, I'm not aware of any private sector partnerships that FAFSA has. It's historically operated as a distinctly government entity. That being said, if you visit their website, they do have many tools and resources available to help people fill out the FAFSA and to help train people on how to appropriately fill out the FAFSA and determine their eligibility. And so that component will be really key when we're talking about mobilizing these T-Mobile employees that aren't that aren't tax accountants, and giving them the tools that they need to help high school seniors determine their eligibility. In terms of risks of getting them to partner with T-Mobile, I think the first risk is just identifying the right people in the organization, because FAFSA, or the Office for Federal Student Aid as it's set up now, is totally focused around this single FAFSA application process and getting government funds and distributing them. Right? It's not really set up, like you said, it's not really set up to partner with a private organization. And so that might need a little bit of an adjustment period to make sure that works.
Thank you. I'm gonna look over here because I want you to talk.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question is, one of your slides talked about, as far as implementation, hiring managers for each of these relationships. How have you maxed out how many hires that would be, and how would that work in relation to the overall budget that the T-Mobile Foundation has?
Yeah, I can comment, and then if you want to comment. So we know that we aren't aware of the current CSR team that T-Mobile already has, but we envisioned at least one manager to oversee each partnership so that there's a strong partnership with each organization in with the different initiatives. That being said, in terms of costs, we know that we know that T-Mobile has allocated $20 to $40 million in donating devices to different organizations. And so we imagine that through efficient operation and allocation of these devices that managers will add value, like we mentioned, and hopefully many of those costs will be mitigated. A smaller team would be ideal, is what I would think.
Yeah, just to add one more thing we discussed when putting together these resolutions for the potential risks is that the manager would have a team for each of the 3 initiatives that would manage the partner relationships as well as be able to measure the impact of each team and group.
Nice presentation.
Thank
Echo.
you. Thank you.
Echo.
Thanks.
So when you look across the gamut of environmental, social governance issues, corporate responsibility writ large, how does T-Mobile do against its competition or its peers? And how does it do against your expectations of what a corporation should be doing?
Great. Well, I think that T-Mobile's mission to help Generation T strikes at really the core of every social issue that we face as a society, and that's education. And through educating youth and giving them the tools that they need to enact change in their communities, they can find what they're most passionate about and bring those changes to the community at large. And that's what I really liked about the Changemaker Challenge that T-Mobile has, because in comparison to its competitors, which tend to focus on a variety of different social issues, T-Mobile's focus on the younger generation and giving them the ability to choose the the initiatives that they feel most passionate about, for me, is unique about T-Mobile and speaks to me as a member of Generation T.
If I
Oh, go ahead.
can I add to that? This was my favorite part of our initial research was analyzing what competitors did. If you can go to the very end of the appendix. T-Mobile won't be the only one of their competitors to focus on education or the homework gap, but they will be the only one to implement a win-win model, which means that their solution will be the most sustainable and will provide the greatest impact.
One more comment with that. You also asked about how it compared to our expectations for what T-Mobile would do. And I must admit, when we originally read the signature cause initiatives, we were a little bit disappointed by the projected impact. However, by incorporating the win-win model, we really see that impact just scaling massively for each one of these 3 initiatives, and T-Mobile being able to affect the lives of a lot more youth than they would have otherwise.
Great. Let's give Team A, the A team, a round of applause.
Thank you for your time.
Winners of the 2017 Milgard Invitational Case Competition on Social Responsibility is from BYU, the Marriott School of Management.
Splitting up is better? Okay.